From Aaron Frazier, new Jimmy Kimmel Live later tonight.
A man wanted for murder in Dayton behind bars tonight in Cleveland. Dayton police now confirming this man here, 32-year-old Nico Cunningham Jr., is now sitting in the Cuyahoga County Jail. He was arrested this afternoon. Troopers tell us they tried to pull him over in a reported stolen car that was recently used in an aggravated robbery. Troopers say Cunningham refused to stop and then took police on a chase. They then tracked him to a wooded area after he took off on foot. Troopers found him in an abandoned home. After his arrest, police then realized he had an active warrant out of Dayton for a murder of a teenager and his pregnant girlfriend, Precious Taste. He remains behind bars tonight. And the Dayton Police Department sending us a statement saying, in part, quote, the Southern Ohio Fugitive Apprehension Strike Team has been tracking Cunningham and when located, asked the Ohio State Highway Patrol to stop the vehicle. Thanks to the great work by So Fast and the Dayton Police Department's Homicide Unit, State Highway Patrol, and the Cleveland U.S. Marshal's Office for being able to ultimately locate and apprehend Cunningham, who is wanted for murder. New surveillance video tonight showing a devastating hit and run. Last night, a driver hit a family walking across the street, dragging their 8-year-old who was still on a bike. Dayton police say the driver was under the influence. Kasha Hancock joins us now live from where that incident happened. So Kasha, how's that young girl doing tonight?
At least we now know that that 8-year-old girl who was hit and taken a half a mile down the road to TUE Street is in the ICU and she's stable.
But he took off and he wasn't caring about nothing.
Donald McIntyre witnessed the tragedy that took place last night, saying it broke his heart.
It's Wayne Avenue. People are always driving fast and crazy and just not really having any respect for the civilians walking.
I spoke to Stephen Arthur of Carl's Body Shop, who says when he heard a loud crunch, he immediately ran outside.
The mother was screaming and crying. I was trying to calm her down, but I want to say that was her 2 other sisters. They were hysterical as well. They were crying, screaming. If you had a sibling get swept away underneath of a vehicle, you'd be hysterical as well.
The family who was hit by the driver was walking in the crosswalk. As the Hummer was making a left turn, he hit multiple family members, but the child, still on her bike, got caught under his vehicle and he kept driving.
One of the bright sides is that we have cameras, we have witnesses, and most importantly, we had citizens who were willing to intervene in the way of following this person and ultimately calling the police and giving us his location so we can immediately take him into custody.
The driver is now being held in the Montgomery County Jail, but meanwhile, the community is calling on law enforcement to do more to prevent incidents like this from happening again.
A bike lane would be great. I mean, there's so many people on bikes or scooters or anything around here, and that would be actually helpful.
Start cracking down on the drunk drivers heavier.
Maybe some road bumps down Wayne Avenue. Keep people at a safer travel speed.
We'll continue to follow this investigation and bring you the latest updates on air and online at Dayton247now.com. Back to you.
We're now waiting on a decision from a judge regarding the competency of a man accused in a quadruple murder. This man you see here, Stephen Marlowe, appeared in court via video today. He's accused of shooting and killing 4 of his neighbors. Last month, a judge found him competent to stand trial, but psychologists from the mental health facility he's been living at spoke on his competency today. Now, a judge did not make a final decision. Marlowe faces 22 counts, including aggravated murder. He's pled not guilty by reason of insanity. The West Carrollton Police Department searching for 2 people tonight accused of drug trafficking. Justin Yall and Crystal Connolly were indicted last Friday. Back in March, local police searched a house on Dundee Circle in Riverside on Pat's Bar on Linden Avenue. They found cocaine, LSD, and mushrooms. Police are still investigating and looking for Yall and Connolly.
Everywhere we go, our son got to deal with hearing people say, is that the boy that got hit by the teacher at school?
Dayton Public Schools now being sued. It is a crisis in the classroom story we have been following now for months. This is the video right here behind me showing a 3-year-old boy who has autism and who is nonverbal be struck by a paraprofessional, then held upside down. Lydia Bice shares how Braylon is doing now and what the next steps are legally.
Our viewers at home likely remember the beginning of last school year when 3-year-old Braylon, who is nonverbal, was seen in a surveillance video being assaulted by a paraprofessional here at Rosa Parks Early Learning Center. Well, today, Braylon's parents and attorney Michael Wright filed a lawsuit against the Dayton Public School District, saying that they still haven't received answers they've been waiting almost a year for, and that they would do anything to prevent something like this from happening to another child. The man accused of this assault, Darke Sorrells, was found incompetent to stand trial back in February of this year, which leaves attorneys asking the question, why was this man hired to be around children in the first place?
How can this employee be found to be incompetent right after this incident occurred? So how long was he incompetent? Was he incompetent when they hired him? Should he never been hired to begin with?
The lawsuit against the Dayton Public School District, school board, and Darke Sorrells alleges gross negligence, assault and battery, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. Now, today I reached out to the Dayton Public School District about the lawsuit, and they sent me the following statement saying, quote, when this event occurred in August 2023, the district took immediate action to investigate and address the incident. The employee was placed on leave that day and is no longer employed with Dayton Public Schools. The parents of the student involved were also communicated with the same day the incident occurred. Shortly after, a meeting was held at Rosa Parks Early Learning Center to discuss the matter with families and address their questions and concerns. Student safety is the district's utmost priority, and all matters involving student well-being are taken very seriously. This year, 7 professional development days have been added to the calendar to enhance staff training in multiple areas across the district. Back to you.
We now know the name of the man hit and killed outside of Miami Valley Hospital North in Inglewood yesterday afternoon. Eli Burgett brings us the latest.
Well, the Montgomery County Coroner's Office released the name of that victim this afternoon. We now know that 77-year-old William Rodenberg was killed yesterday when a 60-year-old man crashed his car into 2 people right outside the main entrance of the hospital. Tonight, we're hearing some of those 911 calls for the very first time.
Hey, we need your guys' assistance over here at North Campus. I've just had a vehicle go flying through our Main Street lot, and I'm getting reports of multiple people being struck, and I've got a person on camera down right now.
Miami Valley North, get him here now. He's still trying to drive. He already hit somebody. He
hit someone?
Yes, he hit someone. He's knocked over a parking light. He's hit parked cars. He's still trying to drive.
Obviously, a very chaotic scene unfolding just before 4 o'clock yesterday. We now know the driver of that Cadillac hit at least 2 other people and a parked car. Investigators suspect impairment to be a factor in this crash. Tonight, we are still waiting to learn the identity of the driver and whether or not charges will be filed. We'll bring you any new information both here and online at Dayton247now.com. Back to you.
Well, pretty quiet evening across the Miami Valley and a pretty quiet day. A lot of the thunderstorm activity was off east of us earlier today, but now we have a couple of showers trying to make their way in. I will say this one continues to weaken as it makes its way into the Greenville area, but a few showers making their way through, but that's anticipated to fall apart as it continues to make its way into our region. 70s across the area, 75 in Dayton, 74 Troy. We got 76 in Sydney. Tonight, it is going to be a mild one, upper 60s. Overall temperature is going to be right around the normal for this time of the year. We will be looking at some muggier conditions too, calmer winds, but heading into tomorrow, we do have a chance for some storms, so I'll time it all out for you coming up in just a bit.
Ohio voters pushing back tonight on a push from the Ohio Secretary of State. Frank LaRose purged nearly 160,000 voters from the registration list. Now, Jenna Lee Borick is live tonight in studio for us. So, Jenna Lee, what is going on?
Yeah, Elise, the Secretary of State's website outlines procedures voters must take to avoid becoming legally inactive. It says voters on the inactive list haven't responded to a notice and haven't engaged in voter-initiated activity. But some organizations say this is a way to disenfranchise voters, and it's happening in some communities more than others.
What we know is that 50% of these voters are registered in Ohio counties where a majority of Black and brown population live. So it appears to be that this purge disproportionately targets voters of color.
Ohio organizations that work to maintain and enhance voters' rights gathered for a call on Tuesday to discuss the inactive voter registration system Ohio uses to remove voters from the active voter list.
The ability to take people off the rolls is saying people who have affirmatively registered to vote will not be able to vote simply because of a procedural issue. And that's just not fair.
The Secretary of State's website says there's a 4-year waiting period until certain voter registrations become legally inactive. Besides voters who have permanently moved or are deceased, voters will be removed if they haven't responded to a confirmation notice or haven't engaged in voter activity. These organizations saying people shouldn't be required to participate in voter activities if they registered and were eligible because life circumstances happen that keep people from participating regularly.
You can't consider it a keeping the rolls clean because of how negatively and how disproportionately it is impacting people.
Mass purging are the new form of voter suppression.
The voter engagement director with the Ohio Organizing Collaborative argues lawmakers are systematically creating laws to suppress voters, especially people of color, young people, and elderly people.
We also have seen with the policies that legislatures have brought forward, I would say that it is a subtle form of voter intimidation. When you consolidate polling locations and it is now so far for someone to get to, that may be a reason why they have not voted.
These groups say they will work together to make sure the people on the list who shouldn't have come off the rolls get re-registered.
Purging is for people that are deceased or no longer live in the state of Ohio. We're not looking for them.
I reached out to Secretary of State Frank LaRosa's office for comment, but didn't hear back. To make sure your name isn't on the list or to find out if you need to take action before November's election, we've linked this website where you can check your registration readiness in our web story at Dayton247now.com. Back to you.
The head of Secret Service announcing her resignation today. Who's filling her place in the agency and the ongoing investigation after the break? Lawmakers still demanding answers from CrowdStrike over last week's outages. James Pilcher shares how it left one traveler stranded across the country.
Plus, I'm tracking some humidity and the chance for some rain and storms tomorrow. I'll time it out for you. That's coming up. Here's a live look from our Eco Plumber Skycam and check out the moon. I'll take a look at that again coming up. You're watching Dayton 24/7 now.
Dayton 24/7 Now news personalities.
The Secret Service is under new leadership tonight after Director Kimberly Cheadle stepped down amid growing pressure. Deputy Director Ronald Rowe has now been tasked with taking over. Kayla Gaskins joins us from Capitol Hill on the agency's transition.
Couple of months old, and
after perhaps the biggest security failure in a generation.
What happened?
The director of the Secret Service, Kimberly Cheadle, stepped down from her post Tuesday. The second in command, Ronald Rowe, quickly appointed as acting director. Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas writing, "I appreciate his willingness to lead the Secret Service at this incredibly challenging moment." President Biden releasing a statement thanking Director Cheadle for her decades of public service, adding, "As a leader, it takes honor, courage, and incredible integrity to take full responsibility for an organization tasked with one of the most challenging jobs in public service." Also on Tuesday, House Speaker Mike Johnson and House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries announcing a bipartisan congressional task force tapped to investigate the Secret Service failures.
I think the moment calls for something unique and different. We need to move quickly. We need to get the answers that the American people deserve.
Johnson said the task force will publish a report on their investigation into the Secret Service no later than December 31st, and we can expect interim reports along the way. On Capitol Hill, I'm Kayla Gaskins.
Let's take a look at this. This is near the Great Miami River today. Our photographer spotted some bald eagles hanging out around sunset. I absolutely love this. I would love to see one of them in person, Natalie, but I have just not been lucky enough.
Same here. I definitely would like to see one in person. I hear they are fairly common around Carillon Park, so maybe I'll have to head out there, check it out one day, be very patient. Here's a look at what's going on across the area right now. Got a couple of showers popping up in parts of Darke County. Now this is anticipated to fall apart, but can't rule out a spot shower through this evening. Most of that activity is now off to our east, and then we also have a front. This is what's making its way in tomorrow. That will increase our rain chances as we head into tomorrow afternoon. So 60s and 70s as you wake up tomorrow morning, but this is a look at tomorrow afternoon. So scattered showers, few thunderstorms, can't rule out a downpour or two with some lightning, but it'll be fairly scattered before clearing out of the area by Wednesday night. Thursday morning, waking up to some fog with a nice day on Thursday with highs in the lower 80s.
Two House leaders are now calling for CrowdStrike CEO to testify about last Friday's global IT outage. The cybersecurity firm pushed out a defective computer update impacting about 8.5 million machines running Microsoft Windows. Banks, hospitals, and government offices worldwide saw their systems go offline. Thousands of flights were delayed or even canceled. CVG's largest carrier, Delta Airlines, took the biggest hit and has been the slowest to recover. James Pilcher shares how one traveler is still trying to make his way back home, plus how pilots are sharing the frustration.
Now, a rep with Delta's branch of ALPA, now that's the largest pilot union in the country, says this is all the company's fault for not investing more in its computer systems. But those pilots are saying they'll work on their days off to help get the airline back on track.
Delta Airlines has canceled 7,000 flights since Friday's massive worldwide computer outage, with the company saying its cruise scheduling software has been taking a long time to reload. That's a major issue, considering the carrier employs 16,000 pilots and 28,000 flight attendants. The cancellation left thousands of passengers like Cincinnati's Jesse Tack stranded and looking for new ways home. He's had to use extra rental cars and flights to get home from San Diego.
It's scary. I'm honestly shocked that we were able to get to our vacation. We were surrounded in Atlanta by so many people.
Delta Pilot Union spokesman Evan Bach says many of those who fly the planes are stranded as well, with reports of crews showing up not having a plane to fly.
We believe Delta has failed to properly invest in this technology, and pilots are frustrated too.
Bach also says all 16,000 of Delta's pilots are standing by to help reset the system.
We're willing to work on our days off to do that.
The family of Sonia Massey now calling for the Sangmon County, Illinois sheriff to resign after Massey was shot and killed in her home by an officer. Massey called 911 to report a possible intruder. Now, police released body camera of the shooting yesterday, showing Deputy Sean Grayson shooting the 36-year-old who was unarmed 3 times after yelling at her to drop a boiling pot of water. He says she attempted to throw it in his direction. Now, Massey's family says the department was not initially transparent about the shooting.
They just kept on saying someone shot her. They would never tell me who shot my mom, though.
The shooter did not have his body camera on initially. Everything was from the level or the perspective of the other deputy who had his camera on the whole time.
The family's attorney, Ben Crump, says they're going to pursue every possible legal remedy to get justice. The DOJ has opened an investigation. Deputy Grayson has now been fired and charged with murder. He's pleaded not guilty. A live look from our Eco Plumber Sky Cam tonight, and let's send it out to Chief Meteorologist Natalie Walters.
Well, feeling all right out here on our Watson's weather patio. A little bit muggy, but not terribly sticky. We got a couple showers trying to make their way in from the west. But it's really tomorrow we got a better shot at some rain, scattered showers, few thunderstorms. Now, I will say, now this model here is a very broad brush, indicating maybe about a tenth to quarter of an inch, not really picking up on where we could see a downpour or two, indicating some potentially higher totals. So if you get under a downpour tomorrow, could see very well over a quarter of an inch, maybe a half inch of rainfall, as we do have that potential tomorrow afternoon and into the evening, but a lot of us won't see much at all. Here's a look at what we're expecting next several days. Mid-80s tomorrow, lower 80s Thursday, Friday, but we get back up to 90. The heat is on by next week.
Our award-winning podcast team investigating another local disappearance where you can find the latest episodes after the break. And we're partnering with Crayons to Classroom and Raising Canes to better prepare kids as they head back to school. How you can join in and help next. You're watching Dayton 24/7 now.
Take Dayton
lawyers at Elk & Elk. Call 1-800-ELK-OHIO.
Today marks 23 years since a bride-to-be vanished just 3 weeks before her wedding day. And now, more than 2 decades later, we're investigating what happened to 28-year-old Nikki McCown. She was last seen at a laundromat in Richmond, Indiana on July 22nd, 2001. 5 months later, Nikki's car was found at an apartment complex